Welcome to Budget Sommelier, where we review wines that don't break the bank. I'm your host, Luke, and today we are reviewing Aldi's specially selected Rioja 2018. Now, Rioja is a Spanish wine. That's why I messed up the pronunciation. I don't speak Spanish. I took German in high school, and then I took German in college. German major, actually. We'll do some German wines eventually, I'm sure. So I don't speak Spanish, and in researching Rioja, there's a lot of Spanish words that I'm going to have to say. So I'm just prepping you now that if you are of the Latin ancestry, if you are coming from nations like Bolivia or Uruguay or Ecuador or Argentina or Spain or Andorra or Honduras or Puerto Rico or Cuba or Guatemala or El Salvador, the pronunciation in this episode may bother you. So if you are one of those types, you may want to maybe skip this one, maybe go watch episode 1 if you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, thanks for coming back. But yeah, this is not going to be a Spanish speaker friendly episode, but the wine is from Spain. So a little bit about this. The Rioja, it's a Spanish red variety. It's made exclusively in La Rioja, Spain, which is in the center north of the country. We're talking southeast from the Basque country where all the terrorists live, and southwest from Navarre, which is a great kingdom to play as in Crusader Kings or EU4 if you want sort of a hard Spain run. Actually, Navarre's in... You know what? We're going to have the producer check if Navarre is in EU4. I know it's for sure in Crusader Kings. But yeah, south by southeast. No, south by southwest of Navarre. You know, it's very important geography. Because I think that with wine, right, where the grapes are grown, the water and the soil, it's very important. And using paradox map games to understand geography is also helpful for wine. Some speculate, historians, scholars, thinkers, doers, dreamers, they speculate that wine was grown in the La Rioja region before it was even grown in Bordeaux, which is kind of an own on the French, who love their wine, who claim that their wine is the best. But, you know, we'll review some French wines in the progress of the show, but right now the only thing we've tasted is a Portuguese port, and that was pretty good. So a little bit more about Rioja. It was designated as calificada by the Spanish government in 1991. So I was talking about this on the last show, but each of these European countries, they have one of these, they have this Ministry of Agriculture or Tourism or Interior Decorating or whatever it is, and they come up with this fancy label to tell you that the wine is from where they say it's from. It's like a special region. So one of Spain's special region is La Rioja, where this wine comes from. So there are 4 types of red Rioja, of which this is one. This is primarily Tempranillo. That is a little bit of an Italian, maybe Temperillo. You know, it's Temperillo. It's Temperillo. So this is a Temperillo. So Aldi, they did this starting last year, because you go to Aldi and they got all the cheap, the Winking Owl wines, and they'll have like the grape variety Shiraz or Cabernet or Merlot or like Chardonnay, and they have like their own brand, which is the Winking Owl. We'll cover some Winking Owl wines, but they wanted to have a step up because Winking Owl is like $4. They wanted to have something a bit nicer, so they did this specially selected branding, which this is. So here's their marketing copy about this. The Specialty Selected Wine Collection is the culmination of 40 plus years of experience Aldi has sourcing wine globally. Partnering with more than 150 wineries around the world, all 10 bottles were thoughtfully selected by Aldi from longtime partners in distinctive regions, including Côte de Provence, the Uco Valley, and Marlborough, as well as new partners from respective vineyards in Rioja and Barossa Valley. Another thing, so Rioja always has a gold wire wrap. I think this is plastic. It's not gold. The wire wrap would be more than the bottle. This bottle was $8.99 at Aldi. But if it was actually gold, it'd be worth, yeah, it'd be maybe something worth keeping. So it has like this silly like wrap. Apparently, in like the 19th century, they would wrap the bottles from Rioja so people knew that they were authentic. I just think that's just another weird, stupid, we're different sort of European thing where it's all fancy and you look at the bottle, it's got the gold on it and it looks cool. But I don't know, I think it's kind of silly. Nutritional gold wire netting that can often be found surrounding the bottles of high-end Rioja. Maybe this is high-end Rioja, I guess we'll find out. In 1858, Camilo Hurtado de Amazega, Marquis de Riscal. So he's a nobleman. The title Marquis de Riscal is a Spanish noble title created in 1708 by King Philippe for Baltasar Hurtado de Amazega. And since then, only 7 others have held it. So clearly this... he wanted to show that, you know, he had like a noble wine. You know, this isn't your give me that wine, winos type of wine. This is more like that. I'm gonna pour this at Brampton House after we play cricket in the yard and the children go up. This is one of these kinds of wines. Apparently, I mean it's from Aldi, and it is vintage dated to 2018. And like all fine wines, it is vintage dated. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if 2018 was a good vintage. Perhaps we'll discover more on the course of this show. So now the taste test. The first thing about we have to do is we have to get rid of the gold wire. There's no knives in the studio. There have been a series of knife attacks where I'm from, so all knives have been confiscated. Otherwise, I just cut it off. So we're just gonna have to do this manually. There we go. So now we have the gold. The gold wire has been removed. So now we're going to get our patented wine foil remover. So you just kind of, you scratch under the bottle. You kind of just scratch it, and then you can just pull it off. Okay, so this is corked. If you can see in there's a cork in there. It says it's from Rioja. Well, that's a good sign. And it does say calificada on there. It even has some sort of serial number. So let's get this open. I have been chilling this in the refrigerator. The recommended temperature for Rioja is 61 degrees Fahrenheit. And by using the patented field test technology, this is probably close to 61 degrees Fahrenheit. So we'll just get that cork out of there. And over here, test for the bottle sound. Well, that wasn't that great. That was like a 3 out of 5. Yeah, that wasn't that great of a bottle sound. Hopefully the taste will be better. So now we're going to do our taste test. So you need to have a wine glass. This is a crystal wine glass. You should always drink alcoholic beverages out of the receptacle that they are supposed to be drinking out of. And so in this case, we're going to use a stemmed wine glass because this is a red wine. So let's do the pour here. Okay, so we got like a solid, it's a solid purplish red, sort of like a wine color. This is sort of like a wine-colored wine. It has that purple that you would expect, while also having some of that red that you would expect. You can kind of see there. What else do they do? So they'll twirl it around. This is to aerate. So we're aerating the wine. So when you aerate the wine, the oxygen in the atmosphere sort of mixes with the wine and brings out some of those flavors that we'll be experiencing pretty soon. Now, typically, each wine has a Zin pairing. I'm not sure. I've never had this wine before. If Spearmint 6 is going to be the Zin pairing. So we're just going to pop that one out. We might come back to that in a moment. So now we're ready to taste the specially selected 2018 Rioja from Aldi. So let's try it out. Wow, that's really good. Perfectly perfectly 61 degrees. I can tell, so my hands were telling me it was 61 degrees, but now my mouth has confirmed it. I have what's known as temperature hyperfixation. Temperature hyperfixation. It's a medical condition that allows me to perfectly sense the temperature of anything I touch, feel, or taste. So that's how I know that this is perfectly 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Some of the tasting notes. I'm getting sort of that wine taste. You know what I'm talking about? It's like it's dry, but it's also dry. I would say that it is mainly dry wine. So I would describe this wine as tasting dry, and I would describe it as tasting like wine. So these two flavors, they mix within the glass, and they blend together to give you that red wine taste that is so well respected. And when we were at the Sommelier school at the Ritz-Carlton in Geneva, one of the things they taught us was how to determine whether a wine was dry tasting or whether it was sweet tasting. And one of the things they said to look for was if it tastes dry. So this is one of those wines that tastes dry. I'm reminded of Spain. Spain used to matter a lot. Spain in the 18th century was a world power, right? They were conquering the whole world. I mean, they had colonies stretching from California to Florida, and from New Mexico to Chile. Cape, that's Cape Horn down there. So from the San Francisco Bay to Cape Horn, and then from the Philippines to the Azores, and from the Western Saharan Desert all the way down, to those islands and into the Pacific Ocean. They're just a giant empire, and so during the 18th century, they just kind of disappeared. I mean, they lost the war to the Mexicans, which, I mean, even the young American Republic could beat the Mexicans in a war. I guess they were focused too much on creating calificada wine designations, and that took so much time that their entire colonial empire dissolved within 100 years, to the point that they're essentially irrelevant in world affairs now. I think that's something we need to do more on the show, is criticize the countries that are making these wines, because you can make a nice wine, but we went to the moon, so and we have good wine. We have the Napa Valley, and we went to the moon. What does Spain have? Spain has Rioja, which is pretty good, but they didn't go to the moon. In fact, they lost a war to us. They lost a war to the Philippines. How do you lose a war to the Philippines? That's frankly embarrassing. So I want to give this a rating, but I just want to make sure that we have, that's another thing they teach you at sommelier school. The crystal glass is important for sommeliers because it brings out that oxidation. That's how you get that dry wine taste, because it focuses in the air. The air gets focused into the glass. The oxygen brings out. So you have the focusing in, and then you have the bringing out. So we focus in by pouring into the glass. We focus in the oxygen, and then the oxygen brings out the wine and dry flavors, which are the two flavor notes of this bottle. But there's one other test that many sommeliers use, which is called the bottle test. And so the bottle test, you get the mouth notes of having your mouth on the glass bottle, so you can taste aspects of the cork. You get that dry, sort of musty basement taste from the cork, but then you also get the green sun-washed glass taste from the bottle, which also has a bit of a bringing out of the dry and wine flavors that really come together in this one pretty substantially, pretty fantastically. So on the rating test, I'm going to say that this was actually better than our previous wine. This is going to be an enjoyable. This is our first enjoyable. The specially selected Rioja from Aldi 2018. This is far better than the price you have to pay. $9 is ridiculous. This tastes better than most expensive wines I've had. Definitely better than you can get at a restaurant for a reasonable price. I would definitely recommend the Spanish specially selected Rioja Denominación de Origen Calificada Reserva 2018, imported from Spain. Aldi must be run by Republicans because you can see there's no crest in the Spanish flag. Okay, the bottle told us that we shouldn't be tasting red wine and dry, but instead we should be tasting red fruits, black currant, and cherry. So that's the other thing they teach you in sommelier school, is to think of fake things that no one's ever heard of and then say that something tastes like it. And then most people are stupid and tasteless, so they'll just be like, oh yeah, you know what, I do get the black currants. What is a black currant? Is this a dark river that runs fast? That's what a black currant is to me. This doesn't taste like river water. I'm going to say it tastes like dry and red wine. These are two great flavors. You combine them together, you bring the oxygen in, you bring the red and the dry out. I think that's what we want to be. This is definitely enjoyable wine. This gets the Budget Sommelier stamp of approval. So thanks for tuning in to the Budget Sommelier. Please like and subscribe and comment what wine you'd like to see us review next on the show. I do read all the comments, and I'm very grateful to everyone who leaves a comment. So please suggest a wine. I'll be happy to go pick it up. Remember, not more than $20. And make sure to tune in next time when we'll review another wine that won't break the bank.